The towns are really gone. The villages are gone. The children are gone. Like these are real losses, and they're going to take generations to recover. It's one of the most land mine, or it's one of the most mined places in the world now. Like
Yes. Hmm.
You are in the underground. Welcome.
Welcome back to the Nation Underground. We are broadcasting from the catacombs under all the bullshit of social media and the mainstream liars. Tonight we have a special guest. She is U.S. born, former U.S. Navy service member, and almost 2 years ago, she decided to go on a see-for-yourself mission to the war-stricken Ukraine. She had to see firsthand what the media was peddling, if it was true. And to her surprise, the war is real. So for the last year and a half, she has been a combat soldier in the Ukrainian army, fighting alongside those who share the same emotions. Tonight, she has something to say. She has a story to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, her call sign is LongTStanding. But
that would be the air raid siren on my end. I'm sorry. It's going to take a minute or two.
No, it's fine. Before we jump into this, really quick, I want to explain that. This is LongTStanding. That is her call sign. She is a Ukrainian female soldier. I want to emphasize female because it is a big thing, especially to me, to know that females are actually fighting on the front lines or fighting in these wars and stuff like that. So I was really amazed to see how many females actually are fighting in the Ukraine war against Russia. Like I said, this is LongTStanding. She is in Kyiv. She is streaming live from Kyiv, Ukraine, as we speak. So she doesn't have sound effects in the background. What you're hearing is an actual air raid siren.
It is the actual air raid sirens.
So this is going to be for first off, I want to say one thing, as I'm honored that you've taken the time to come on and talk with us and that you chose us to do a podcast that you've been wanting to do for so long.
Thank you. I'm humbled to be here. So thank you so much.
I know that you're, yeah, I can hear it real good now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you're not in any danger or anything. I mean, that's just.
I think you're muted.
Did I mute myself? Hello.
Oh, hi.
Okay. I don't know what happened. We'll have little glitches like that. I mean, we do have some weather here, so that could be a lot of the issue on my side too.
Well, I mean, we have Russia here, so it could totally be on my side.
Yeah, yours is a bigger thing than mine. Mine's a little bit of weather. Yours is. But no, like I said, what I was saying is I'm really honored that you chose, us to come on and talk to you. Something that you've been wanting to talk about from what you've said for the last couple of years. So I'm going to shut up a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then where you are or what you're doing, where you're at, and then we'll get into the beef of the conversation.
Well, my call sign is LongTStanding. I am 41 years old. I'm American, born and raised. I currently serve in ZSU, like ZSU, as we like to call it, here in Ukraine in the armed forces. I'm a combat veteran here in Ukraine, and I serve in a battalion known as Ray. It is a Ukrainian battalion based out of Kryvyi Rih. And I know that city has been heard a couple times in American media recently.
So, I guess to start off with is like I said, I know it's really late or early, however you want to say it. And the reason why we had to bump this up, because this was actually scheduled for Thursday, but the reason why we had to bump this up is because you got deployment orders. Your unit is heading back to the front line.
Yes, actually, my unit technically headed back today, and then I go tomorrow. I had to take care of some business in Kyiv, so I was granted a little liberty. And yeah, and then we all roll back out. I'm really excited. I haven't ever deployed with this particular unit within the battalion before. So I've been deployed with 3. This is my 3rd one. But
Wow.
I've worked with these guys since January. They're awesome. They're all instructors at our academy. So I'm kind of excited to see whatever it is that we end up doing together, because it's one thing to teach everybody about it all the time, but it's another to actually like just get to go like, do stuff as a group.
Yeah, talking about that, I mean, so uh, how I want to know, it's just like what why did you get in? I mean, what was your passion and drive to actually join to go over to Kyiv and start doing this?
Um It was a gradual process. It's not it was I didn't just wake up one morning in America and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go join the Ukrainian army." Um, it started with my friend was here, um, and when Russia initially attacked, and he ended up being in occupied territory, and he had to fight his way across the front line, then like back and then out of Ukraine. And so that's when it really I was like, that's happening at the same time that all my friends in America were like deploying to Ukraine and like leaving Syria and other places. And I was like, man, this is a war. I didn't understand it probably until about 3 months into the war. I was working security, and our area was a very wealthy downtown. We had 5-star restaurants, malls, hotels, all of the things. And I started to really notice human trafficking signs, and it was clear. And so when I was reading these reports, because there's a human trafficking report that comes out every, I'd say 18 months, usually, that kind of tells you what countries are doing what. I kept running across Ukraine, and I was just like, well, I didn't understand at all what was happening. And so I just continued to dig further. That's when I waited for the UN war crimes report to come out. Um, and the numbers were horrific. Like they were stealing tens of thousands of children, like
Yeah.
Mariupol's children. Um, so I got with some nerd friends of mine. I wanted to come to Ukraine to see if the war was real, right? Because I'm a U.S. veteran as well, and I wanted to know for sure that like this was not a domestic conflict. This wasn't. I needed to know. And so I'm like, I can't just go to Ukraine and find out. Like, you need a reason to come here. So I got with some really smart people, and we worked on some electronic warfare equipment. Um, and I was like, I'm going to take this electronic warfare equipment over there and meet up with a unit and see if like a unit wants to use this. And then while I'm there, I'm gonna kind of scope it out. I'm gonna see if this is a real war or not. Yo, I was not in Kyiv 72 hours before Russia like laid into me. Like
Holy shit.
my building shook. It was horrible. Like car alarms went off, stuff exploded. I had rented an apartment in the intercept zone. So I spent 4 months just living in the intercept zone, working with this really amazing unit. They're just we went through a lot together. Unfortunately,
Now,
we suffered a lot of losses.
before, what is
Um,
that exactly? What was that zone? What's that zone that describe that for me?
okay,
Because I'm learning
okay. So
too.
the
So,
intercept zone is where there's incoming, like ballistics or drones, right? And then there's the famed Kyiv air defense, who I love. They deserve to be famous. And when the incoming comes towards within the Kyiv sky, air defense will pick up its really big guns and start lobbing and intercept the
okay.
incoming. So it doesn't hit children's hospitals, schools, all of which has been done. So there's still shrapnel and stuff from the intercepts. Like you don't get out of an attack. That's not how it works. So, but they do have like um, different different forms of artillery. That video that I sent you by the gas station,
Yeah.
different forms of artillery like that. And so they intercept them and they explode. And I just happened to be over the chosen intercept point.
Oh, oh wow.
I was like, yeah, I have a video. I did not send it to you because it stresses people out. But somebody took it and it was across town. And I was on the phone with them when they took it. they were taking a piss off a sky rise, right? It's like that's what you do apparently. Um, and you see it almost hit the building, and I was like, man, I'm pretty sure Russia almost killed me. Like stuff is going off and things are burning. This is bad. And he's like, oh, it couldn't have been that bad. And then the next day he sends me the video and he's like, yeah, I Googled it and that was you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I got really mad. And that's when I was like, I'm going to join the military and shoot you. I want a gun. And so I did not have what I needed in country at the time to do that. I was not, um, I just wasn't up on my training. Like I was trained, but I wasn't ready to go to the front line flat out. So I went back to America after 4 months. Got all my shit together, just kind of re up my stuff. There's a Scallywag Tactical. It isn't just a knife company. They actually have this online training university called Elite U. And they will just rerun you through the basics of all the stuff of knife, of hand to hand, of weapons. It's great. I don't recommend it if you're a beginner, but if you've already done all of that training, it's an awesome refresher. So I did that. I got my run time up. I got my gear up. And at that point, I was just waiting. Like I was just kind of shopping around. And I had the commander of the Norman Brigade reached out to me and he's like, hey, do you want to come and be a Norman and, fight with us in Ukraine? And I was like, yeah. Um, and so a week before I showed up, they went on an operation and he died.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And honestly, the loss still rings through the battalion. Like
So
I can't put words to what that was.
when you're talking about re-up, was you previous military or previous anything else before that?
Yeah, I was in the Navy, but it wasn't anything cool.
Okay.
So I hadn't gotten my war on. Um, I just kind of knew the yes or no sir kind of stuff, the behavior, the conduct, that kind of thing. I'd worked security back in the United States, so I definitely had a lot of like altercations and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I wasn't new to it. I was new to being bombed though. You never forget your first time.
Yeah, that would be something I'd probably never forget.
You don't. You don't. You're like, you just don't. It's just it can sound like you imagine, the Olympus gods warring and the thunder and everything. It's like that. It's like you
So
just
when you were in that zone and everything else and that happened to you, I mean, and you went back to America and got trained. So that just kind of like emphasized
oh, I was
your.
pissed. I was pissed. I got bombed on my birthday. I got bombed on the 4th of July. I was pissed.
So see, most
I
people
was
would just sit there and
pissed.
say, "The hell with this! I'm going back and I ain't coming back."
Um, you know, you got to be true to yourself in those situations. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to run. I wanted to fight.
But see, that was the biggest thing too. Is it's like because that when it first back in 2014 and everything else up to 2014's conflict and stuff like that was more internal, trying to regain the government and everything else. And then in 2022 came about. A lot of people thought, and a lot of people did. They thought this was a made up proxy war and everything else that was just created for some type of, I don't know what, but they didn't
Well,
think the
that's
war
true.
was, well, because you were getting all this
They did think that.
yeah, you were getting all this propaganda. It's like, oh, we're not, you're getting these people sending videos through TikTok and everything else saying, oh, nothing's going on here. Nothing's doing that. So it was confusing the hell out of us. It's just like, I mean, here in America. So it was,
There was a lot of lies that came out about it, I think. And that's the reason I went the first time. I wanted to make sure it was a real war,
mhm.
you know?
and,
Mm,
and
and it was a very real war. It was um, no, I think it was hard on my family. I think they kind of watched me just propel forward to something that I was unrelenting in. I kept continuing up on the information of human trafficking and all of that. I got to Ukraine. My paperwork, blessed be Lviv, I got processed into the initial army within by hour 49. I was headed to my battalion, and then my battalion contract, which is a separate contract, was signed very shortly thereafter. So I was very lucky in the process. Um, at the same time I arrived, there was multiple changes in commanders, and eventually the unit just dissolved entirely within the first 14 days of my arrival. So I had to like,
Wow.
there was, yeah, and I had been through 2 commanders at that time. So it was intense, honestly. And I was just excited. Like I just wanted to go to the front. And within 30 days of joining, I was in the Kharkiv offensive.
Wow.
It was really the Kharkiv defensive. If I'm being honest, since America's the one that's listening, let's call it what it is. It was a defensive um, time. And I was with electronic warfare unit, which was amazing. And we got to work with GUR and their electronic warfare guys. And it was the best time. It was my favorite frontline. So I've been on 4. I've been 8 months on the front line, and I've been on 4 different front lines. I've done Kharkiv at the fall of Vovchansk. I've done Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Sumy-Kursk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Quick question: which of the 4 front lines do you think, or do you feel, was the toughest by far?
There's a lot of different ways to measure toughness. It can be measured on like how many times I was bombed. Did I deal with it well or did I not? It can be measured on how many lives that we lost versus how many lives that we didn't lose. Um, I would say that they were all tough for different reasons. Honestly, I mean, Kharkiv was tough because I had the most up close bombing experiences. Um, Donetsk was tough because for the people that I was with, I hadn't been there last year, but for them, that was returning back to a graveyard. It was hard. It was horrible. They had to go the same streets. They had to live in it was rough. Um, we were packing up to leave, and the cabs, these things that can take out a house, came raining down on us. I had been bombed so much in the Kharkiv defensive that I was like, well, the whistle went over. It's fine. It's not going to hit us. It hit like the next street over, and caused some concussions for a couple of our people. But like I had gotten so comfortable with incoming at that point, I was like, nah, I don't even need to go to a shelter. Like I'm not moving. I'm putting this in the truck.
Yeah. I think you can get used to the what people don't understand a lot of the times. And you see reporters sharing that all the time. People get really used to the air raid sirens, even the civilians there, to the point they don't even rush to take cover sometimes. Whether it's because they don't have enough time, and other times just because it's so routine. It happens, nighttime, daytime.
Sometimes you just want the fucking cup of coffee. You just want a
Exactly.
cup of coffee,
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I might fucking die getting this cup of coffee, but they're willing to make me the coffee, and I'm willing to stand here and buy the coffee. So we're doing the coffee. I was sitting when I had gotten back I was on leave and I had done my 4 fronts. I was sitting there in Kiev. Um, and I like looking out the window and I see the shed go by and like the artillery go after it. And these 2 girls came like running into the cafe and they were like definitely visibly very upset. And I'm like, it's fine. No, that problem is like 4 or 5 buildings down. Like that's not our problem. But at the same time, you're also just like, that was very insensitive of you to say.
Well, I
We
mean,
could do better.
and plus the things you got to realize though, the stuff you guys see and do and hear. I mean, you have to have a hardened perspective about it.
My favorite moment in the entire war, we were 2 kilometers. I wasn't in the Vovchansk. Uh, I was 2 kilometers from Vovchansk, which was, I mean, look, it was just as bad, right? We had the North African Russians coming at us at the time. And I'd never been in such a heavy bombing situation. And so, like, I had gone to the bunker underground and we were looking at it and it was just like being lit up. And I'm like, where are we going to go? And they're like, we're going to go right here. I'm like, okay. And so, like, we ran out and we did it. And as we get to the position that we need to set up the equipment, the fucking truck tire goes flat.
Oh no.
The church
Jesus.
across the street is burning. Or no, the house next to the church is burning. And so we're like, okay, they're clearly trying to hit the church, right? Because that's one of the main things they take out. So we're going to be
Mhm.
fine, right? We're setting up equipment, and there's it's there there's just cabs just raining down. Everything is on fire. Everything is exploding. It is an endless sound of bombardment. Like, we had just finished unpacking everything, and me and the other American that I was with, Possum, like, the ground shook. We had never been in anything like it was, and it just didn't stop for a while. And we're like, and my commander, who had known me not very long, was like on the ground, head covered, like changing the tire.
Wow, that's intense. I mean, the
It
only time
was,
I
it
can
was,
recall ground shaking is like from a missile strike, where where the windows shake and the ground or the building kind of shakes. It's almost like being in an earthquake, I would say.
it was, yes. And as a West Coaster, it was like being in an earthquake, but with way more booms. And it was very early in the AM, and like people were riding their bicycles. Like, older people were riding their bicycles because they would need to go and open a store. And there's like munitions raining
Yeah,
down, endless ammo, endless drones. Like, when Russia
yeah,
wants to fuck you up, they can leave nothing.
Wow.
And they were
yeah.
going for nothing. I mean, Vovchansk got left in a whole bunch of nothing. Like, that's what it looks like when they come for you. And
Mm.
I was like, but like the birds were still singing.
Huh.
I think it's like a defiance. I think it's what I
Yeah,
admire about people and even nature. Like they're just defiant. Like I'm gonna keep on living. I'm gonna go grab my coffee. I'm gonna go to
yep.
work just
People went and
doesn't
got
matter if they're
groceries.
bombing.
And the more the
Yeah.
sun came up, the more the attack ended, and like those a lot of those people stayed there.
Well, that's one thing I noticed too. Is
Wow.
like when I started researching more, is like when I met Gia and I started researching more into when she turned my opinion around of what I was telling you about the conversation, how we met on X. So I really started deep diving into stuff, took a lot of information. So there's a decent Netflix documentary that talks about the 2014 uh, conflict they had there with trying to take back their government. And just so what you're talking about, the people just going to work and everything else, like it's a normal day. It was amazing to see. It's just like they're walking past these battle, these people fighting and shooting and everything else, and they're just walking like nothing, like it's a normal day in a life.
Yeah,
But
and there are people that went out and got groceries, like, and the homes around them were burning.
yeah, so that
And we were headed back from that mission when we got it done, and they blew the bridge. So we had already gone to an initial place to take down the equipment, and that field was being lit up. That's why we had to take down the equipment. So we go to this other place. We're lit up while we're there. We're headed back. The bridge gets, like, blown. And so we have to go the long way around. It was a 28-hour mission.
wow.
Yeah, dude. But when you roll with Gurr, like Gurr rolls with you. It's my favorite one, but it's like the ones I definitely have like bad dreams sometimes. I'll just be like in a dream, and it'll be a regular dream, and then like I'll just hear the bombing in the distance, and it'll get closer, and I'm just like, oh, this is like not. We
So
were lucky. Everybody made it out okay. Like, I don't. It's not a sob story, but it's definitely a legitimate war. They are definitely going through removing the women and children from these villages. They're only leaving the old. They make sure that there's no running water. They make sure there's no power, and they will do this village after village after village, and they will erase it until there's absolutely nothing left. They do not leave like the blocks. When I went to Kharkiv, I got to unfortunately see one of the first towns that Russia had war crime through, and it's you don't. There's no excuse in the world for that level of invasion and extermination of your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's totally nuts.
Um,
So I mean,
yeah, it's
well, like I said, that's another thing we get to hear over here, you know, and we'll jump. Like I said, I have a tendency of jumping around a little bit, so forgive me if I confuse you. Just let me know. Um, but one of my biggest have with the whole thing with going with Zelensky and everything else going on right now, with there's a lot of left and right, more right stuff sitting there saying, you know, he doesn't want a deal. He doesn't want to get out of this war. I mean, is that what you see, or do you just see him just kind of like doing what he can do just to try to protect the citizens and get the country back?
I will be honest. I do not believe that man gets a single thing that he wants. He 100% at this point, from what I have seen and experienced on the ground, living with an all Ukrainian battalion, he does what the will of the people want. And the will of the people want every damn inch back. They want every body recovered. They want their kids back. They want their borders back. And so that's what he's going to give them. Because I know that sometimes the United States looks into Ukraine and they're like, oh, we need an election and we need these things. But Ukraine's been dealing with Russia for a long time. And
Yeah.
that's why it's in their democracy to not have an election during wartime, because the enemy can usurp your elections. The people on the front can't vote. Occupied territories can't vote. So it's important to just like kind of step back and be like, what he wants is probably just an end, but what his people want is Ukraine back. And so that's what he's going for, because he serves at the liberty and the pleasure of the people.
So
And they have a lot of feelings and thoughts about him over here.
see, that's what I'm saying. That's why I was kind of curious, because, like I said, we don't get the full story, because once it gets fed through the social media or the media machine, it gets turned around. So, so I mean, it's just like with the whole thing. Is that kind of like what it seems like to me? What happened with Crimea when Crimea was taken? You know, because it was like right in that moment, and of. I mean, Putin saw what I see as like a weakness, kind of like what they saw with us, because they knew that we had a weak time over here at that point in time. And so they knew we weren't going to retaliate against them, you know, for doing what they wanted. So when Putin took over Crimea, it's just like everybody says, oh, you know, the people of Crimea wanted this. And have you heard anything like that down there? Is that what happened, or is it totally the opposite? Or is it something you can talk about? I mean,
Being
I don't.
perfectly honest, I would say that you have to take that on an individual basis. I would say
Okay.
the majority of Ukraine wants to remain Ukrainian. However, in all situations and all scenarios, you know, you're going to have people that do truly want Russia to win. They are willing to sell out Ukraine. They are willing to sell out troop movements. They are willing to do that. I can tell you, serving on the ground here, that is definitely not the majority. That is not the major sentiment across Ukraine. But I mean, anybody can look online and look up SBU and see the list of people that they've arrested for collaboration with Russia. So
Yeah.
it's one of those questions, like, I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh no, everybody absolutely wants, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, no, there's some battles. Is it a civil war level? No. Ukraine is being occupied. There are not more people that want to be Russian than Ukrainian on any damn level here.
And say that's what I
But
started.
you're
You're
gonna
starting to
have
see that. You're starting to see more and more of that propaganda come out now, because I've noticed now is it's like sometimes my timeline gets filled with these videos. It's like talking about, or even my YouTube timeline gets filled with like, oh, these people say they want to be Russian and everything else, and it's just like, so it's just like, yeah. I mean, I
It's
don't
just like
believe it,
America.
but
There's
yeah,
people that have loud voices and they say, well, all Americans support this or all Americans support that. But we know as Americans, there is very little that we all agree on.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, too, you got to realize it's like a lot of people are like, this is their bread and butter. I mean, this is how they get their news. This is what they live and breathe. You know, they don't want to go out
Question
and,
it.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
They don't want to question it, because that would be too hard and too confusing for their minds. And I'm sorry, I'm being honest. I mean, people can hate me for that or not. I say this all the time. It's just like, I'm a firm believer of the whole sheeple thing. People are led, and they don't want to take the time and the energy, because it does take time and energy to find out the truth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like she was saying, what's the worst, what's the most terrible front? I mean, they each have things. Like Donetsk for me was probably one of the most terrible because my friend was, you know, war crimes on drone feed, and I intercepted war crimes audio, and it was horrible. Like, you can do nothing when you're just listening.
Yeah.
Um, and like the Sumi Kursk front was also really horrible. Like, I lost an unspeakable amount of people that I loved.
I'm very sorry you lost people and friends there.
Yeah.
It's the price of making friends and loving people here. It's
So,
really hard not to. Ukrainians are some of the bravest bastards you have ever met. They inspire your love.
Yeah,
no,
they are.
that's why I was saying that those documentaries, the ones that actually, like I said, with that one that I watched on Netflix, where they were actually recording as it was going, that's what changed my mind about it. It's like, okay, this isn't a political stunt
Is it
anymore.
the
Like
Mariupol one?
the what?
Is it the 100 Days in Mariupol?
No, it's a winter storm or something like that.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, whoever did it, I mean, it was cut from different news feeds and different reporters that were down there. I mean, it wasn't nothing Hollywooded up like you see most documentaries. I mean, it was actually cut news feeds and stuff like that, and they were trying to. And like I said, that's what. After seeing them, especially when they were at the Medan, when they were sitting there and they 96 days at the Medan trying to get it back, and it started out with like 1,000, and then it just grew and grew and grew from all regions of Ukraine, not just Kyiv. I mean, they came from all over the place. So what they say, they had over 100,000 people there at one time.
It is still etched very closely on the hearts of the people here today. It's not that far away for them.
So I mean, that's that. Watching that, just a few brief clips and stuff like that they threw in there, and then I think like the 15-20 minutes they spent on that, because that was the whole thing of that documentary was about the taking back their government, and taking
Yep.
back
Mm-hmm.
and watching it.
Russia has continuously and repeatedly tried to take Ukraine in various ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the reasons that people are just so pissed. Like,
Well,
we're done.
and then hell, we try to do that too. I mean, we try to put, when all that all those recordings came out about what's her name sitting there trying to plant a president back in there during that whole situation that they wanted in there. Because I've always been that way. It's just like, yes, I'm an American and everything else. I'm not going to, government sucks, it always has sucked, but it's really opened my eyes a lot, especially with all this stuff, to realize just how much we think we need to control other countries.
We really do have a like, this is the best time for CIA joke.
Yep.
We really have a handler mentality internationally towards our policies.
Yeah. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, because I'm a big history buff, going back to like JFK and stuff like that, and because I everybody's like, oh, the CIA did it. No, I don't believe the CIA did it. I believe I believe they were in on it, but I believe there was several different groups that just happened to not know each one was doing something to try to get rid of him. I think the mafia had something to do with it. I think LBJ had something to do with it, and I think the CIA had something to do with it. Now,
He had a lot of people. I mean, he had pissed off a lot of people.
yeah,
So,
the one person I don't think did it that everybody was blaming is I don't think Castro had anything to do with it. I really don't. I really do not think Castro had anything to do with JFK's assassination. Just for the fact of the matter is because now I think there was some groups within, and that's what I'm saying. We have planted as Americans through that time, through World War II and on. And I'm sure it probably went way back when, but we have tried to plant so many things in other people's government in the form of trying to make them, safer and everything else, when it's all actuality about control. Because if we could control all these other governments, then we are the superpower, And I think that's kind of what happened with Ukraine.
Yeah, they are. Ukraine's in it for freedom and democracy, man. They're not going to let this go. Like, they're willing to die for this.
Yeah.
They've lost too many people to let it go. Really, that's what it comes down to. There's too many lost lives.
They're pissed. They're pissed.
Well, and to see
like,
so
yeah,
many,
they're brokenhearted and they're sad, but they're angry.
And to see so many Americans coming over, doing the volunteer stuff, creating units to
Uh,
join,
there's
it's
not
just
that many of
amazing.
us over here. We just make a lot of noise. There used
But
to be way more.
really,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
go
they
months on
a
end,
lot of
you don't
them
see
have
another
left.
American. Yeah.
Yeah, not many organizations and groups and individuals remain.
hmm.
The ones that
No.
remain have been there for a long time, including you.
Yeah.
So it's like I said,
I'm
I'm learning. So
I'm like a late bloomer though. I mean, I didn't join till 2024, and I came and visited in 2023. So
yeah, but you came in just like right when you came in when the meat of the war start. I mean, was going on though. I mean,
everybody feels that way when it's war.
yeah, yeah, I guess.
The Kharkiv offensive was awesome, or the defensive was awesome, in the sense of like, um, 30 days after signing my contract, like I was, in a combat zone, and it was a really good fight. It was. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think it stresses my family out a little bit back in the States. Not a lot, like they're proud of me, but I think they,
I mean, speaking of that, so
they'd be okay if I came home. Yeah.
well, yeah. So I mean, speaking of that, I mean, how what? I mean, when you told them, it's just like I'm going back over. When you came back, it's just like, what was their reaction to that?
What do you need?
Really, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, is what do you need? Have you dotted your I's? Have you crossed your T's? Like, what do you need? How much time do you need? It was that was like pretty much the main focus. Like, what do you need?
That's awesome.
And I was kind of screwed up when I got back, right? Because I mean, I spent 4 months being mom for the first time, and so I just started cooking a lot, and I was adopted later in life. When I say like my dad and my family, it was like I met them in my 30s, but I live there. I train there. He runs like different kind of warrior camps and stuff like that. And so I came back, and my dad is amazing. He will cook you breakfast and dinner, every day. And I took over like cooking. So I would come home and I would just like I would mince and I would chop and it would be like so detailed. And he's like, "You are clearly working through something, but like I'm cooking dinner on Thursday." um, and I needed to feel in control. I think that was like one of the things.
Well, see, that's just kind of what it was. Like I said, I never served. I mean, I almost did. I enlisted in the National Guard right before Shock and Awe took place during the '90s, um, the second half of the Middle East War. But I was born a military family. My dad. I'm the youngest out of 10 kids, so it's just like my dad was. He was stationed in Pendleton when Pearl Harbor broke out. He was a Marine, and during the whole excitement or the whole energy of trying to get everything together, there was an accident on base there at Pendleton, and him and like 15 other soldiers were injured, so they weren't allowed to continue. So they got discharged on medical. Because back then, it's like if you
Oh,
were injured, you didn't do anything. Um,
that
and
is
that
a huge difference between America and Ukraine. A lot of I served with guys with one leg,
yeah,
one arm, and they keep coming. Um, I really huge props to the Superhuman program for giving so much time and attention to those people and
yeah.
making them better.
Saying I even had
Is
a
you feel like crap when the guy has one leg and like awesome abs? It's like I need to get my shit together. I am
Yeah,
failing.
they do set an example.
Yeah.
That determination, right? Like you're like complaining, like I'm complaining about, oh my God, I got migraines and I almost died of an allergy. I mean, I did almost die, but like I'm still alive and I don't, I'm not like missing a leg or an arm. Like a lot of people, even kids that survive these, airstrikes or bombing and missile strikes and everything, because it's also kids and civilians. It's not just soldiers up front that get injured,
100%.
and lose.
well, and two,
I
it's just like I
I
mean,
visit school kids here in Ukraine and Kiev, and some of
Yeah,
their experiences of like having glass ceilings falling on them, snipers take over the buildings, tank rolling through their streets. Like they do not escape the war.
well,
so I know one of the things that we're being told too back in when all this about the halfway through is that they were like, when Russia was sending like drone strikes and stuff like that, that they were hitting, unoccupied buildings and everything else, because that's what we were getting. That I don't know if it was to like say the war
They
wasn't as
were
bad.
definitely occupied.
Well, it's just, I always thought that. It's just like, okay, so why would they target an empty building? And I got to thinking, it's just like, okay, is that the propaganda they want us to hear? Is because to make us think like, because I think like in the last 4 years there was a big deflection off exactly what was going on in Ukraine, because they were funneling. I think we were funneling money through there in other ways that Zelensky didn't know about and anything else. I think it was a big funnel. And we were paying for it
Nothing
over
would
here.
surprise me about America. We are
Yeah.
like receding little shits sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you go back and it's like everything is coming out, go back in history. I mean, we've always done something, and now finding out, like I said, I think like it's when the previous administration was in there, because they did there was a lot of money being sent over there and a lot of money being printed, and Zelensky even himself sat there and goes, well, we didn't receive, a good chunk of that. So where did it go?
Yeah.
I've
Or it
come
went
to,
to the wrong people
yeah,
sometimes. People that
There is, I'm
were
not gonna
popular
lie and say
who
there's,
chose.
yeah, there's definitely corruption here. I
Mhm,
mean, it's just not as widespread and malicious as it is in some wealthier nations of a first world class.
mhm.
yeah. Well, I mean, too, like you said, you've got those people, the Russian sympathizers that are still embedded in Ukraine and everything else. And I'm sure there's still some in the government from the old government that are still, because we've found that over the years here that we've had that problem here as well. But I think it's just with every government. But
Yeah.
you know, because I think there was one documentary. Like I said, I got on a documentary kick going down these rabbit holes, and I found one to where they were talking about when Putin actually took over Russia and stuff like that, and all these rich property owners, all these rich business people, like there was like 6 of them or 7 of them that basically controlled Russia, before Putin took over, and then when
The
Putin took,
oligarchs.
yeah, yeah, and then when Putin
Yeah.
took over, that's what I'm saying. When they say oligarchs down here, it's just like we don't. I mean, yeah, we have them, but I don't think they were as bad as what we know as an oligarch. Um,
Yet.
no, no, yeah, I mean, yeah. If it
Yeah.
doesn't get stopped, it will happen.
Yeah.
Did you guys know, like for example, I'm in Texas right now. Did you guys know there's a company here that helps fund the war on the Russian side?
No way.
Texas Tech?
I'm gonna have to look it up because I lose track of all my notes, but it's part of the oil industry. I think it was talked about briefly, like probably Wall Street Journal and like the Financial Times type of thing. But it was never talked about on CNN. It was never talked about on Fox News. I remember sharing an article or two, and my views like would go down to like 2, 3, 1, 0. Like it's almost like you can't talk about it.
There's definitely American tech companies that are selling equipment via foreign
Yeah,
interests and buyers. And then that equipment does end up in Russia's equipment, which
yeah,
bums us. Yeah.
Well, and when it
that
comes
too.
to oil, I mean, I'm not sympathizing with any of them, but you got to realize they don't give a shit about anything else but the profit margin.
Exactly, it's all business.
Yeah.
Everything's business, unfortunately, and war is a big business.
Oh,
So
war is such a business.
yeah,
Yeah. I think
It's the business of killing people. I mean, it's literally that's what it is.
yeah.
well, and I think
It's
that's what the whole thing was with, going on with this. That's the reason why I think a lot of us, and I thought it too. It's just like, this is just the Ukraine war when it started. I'm not saying that Putin did it on purpose, but it was always kind of funny. It's just like there was rumors saying that it was only going to last 10 days. It's like, okay, so how is this going to end in 10 days? When has a war ever been programmed to end in a certain amount of time? I mean,
Yeah.
I
Well,
really
from
don't
like 3
think
days
he
to a
felt it
week,
was
right?
going to be
10
a
days
push.
and
Yeah.
over
I
3
don't think
years.
he felt they were going to rally. I don't think he felt they were going to change or grow. I don't think he saw their military being willing to adapt.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think they thought Ukraine would take up aggression. I really don't. And it's something that Russia's deeply battling. The fact that, yeah, Ukraine said no.
see, and that's what's impressed me too. It's just like, because this has gone on since 2022. Is that when it started?
Yeah.
Yeah, February.
And so it's been going on this is the third year anniversary of it, and it's just like, I watched the map, because you can go online and watch that interactive map to show the lines drawn and stuff like that, how they push and how they how they,
ISW is your friend.
yeah. So it's just
Yeah.
like it's really infatuating to me to see how Russia will come in and the Ukrainians will push them back out, like, really, really quick.
That line is so interesting because I've been on it several times. And like, it's not always the most accurate. I would say there's like a 4 to 8 kilometer difference sometimes. But it is pretty damn close and pretty damn good. And you'll see the surges sometimes. You're like, well, that's 2 clicks away.
Yeah.
I wonder how accurate this is. And then you hear the munitions in the background, like especially the Sumi Kursk front. There was weeks when it was just like there was always something exploding. Like either we were hitting them or they were hitting us. Like it gets, and you'll see kids on the playground. Like
Yeah.
it's they're great. I love the Ukrainian kids are some of the coolest kids. They're so brave.
So
They're like
let's touch a little bit on that. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm recovering from an allergy or a sinus infection and everything else. So it's just like, but so that's one of the things. Like I said, that's what got you involved in this is the trafficking side of it. That's what got you to go down to Ukraine. So that's also been like very interesting to me to find out exactly how many of the kids. I mean, they just literally come in and take them out and put them in Russian foster homes, put them in, I mean, because
human trafficking, murder.
There's even, how good the international criminal courts are anymore. I think it's kind of like the UN. They just sit there and it's like they hand out
It's terrifying. It is. It's something the kids here struggle with because they lost their friends. It's the kids that come back from Ukraine or from Russian captivity. I haven't personally interacted with any of them, but what glimpses they are willing to give us, like through media and stuff like that here in Ukraine, it's a form of psychological warfare that is just horrible. They're trying to. Russia truly intends to make Ukraine extinct.
Yeah.
They want an extinction level event of Ukraine, of its language, of its culture, of its people. And they're not, honestly, until they are just beat back with such a viciousness by which will not rise on this front again. Like they're not going to stop going town to town, and the war crimes against women and children are horrific. They'll sexually assault family members in front of each other. In those occupied territories, and the testimonies that we've gotten from them are horrific. Mothers will endure horrific amounts of sexual assault, and the soldiers will still assault the daughter, and then they'll just kill everybody. Um, it's a level of brutality that, like, when you are this close to it, like I am, you for me, the line is very clear about who Russia is, what Russia's intentions are, because I've like walked down those streets. I've been that person that they bombed. Like, it's different when you're smelling the burning house and there was a family inside, like 5 minutes ago. Like, and they're gone now. And so when you see that deliberate intention, when you're here and you drive by and this many schools are bombed and this many hospitals are bombed, it there's just a real impact. And America really hasn't had that kind of impact since 9/11.
No.
And I mean, America got pissed. And Ukraine is pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and I'm not saying who or what with 9/11. I'm just saying that was our territory and it was damaged.
I get you, because like I said, I can understand that, because the American people were pissed about it. But like I said, when it comes down to the more and more we're finding out about 9/11, more of it being a government op, basically, is what it's coming out to end up being, whether you want to believe it or not. But no, you were talking about how they were. I seen a post. I thought I bookmarked it, but something came across my timeline today.
Well, speaking of 9/11 and what that's like, and I think when was this? Probably last year, because I was still in Ukraine too. When they bombed that hospital in Kiev, there were a lot of kids inside. Um,
And then they poisoned the water that was brought for the first responders as
yeah,
well.
exactly. So that's kind of a replica of what happened at 9/11. It's basically the same thing. Now imagine that, but like almost every day throughout the country. Imagine if we had many 9/11s, like nonstop, three years on. Like, how could people say, "Oh, we're tired of hearing about Ukraine. Stop funding Ukraine. We're sick of it." Like, people are
I
tired of
think
it, but they're not
people,
even experiencing it.
it's like being tired of the Marvel series when you're in America. It's so easy to watch violence in America, to play the video games, to do the thing, to be like, oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just sick of
exactly.
it. Like, I'm just gonna tune out of
Yeah.
violence. But like when it's the
Hmm.
ground beneath you shaking, when it's in Creview Re, they do hit our schools. We've had kids jump out of multiple story windows to escape like being buried under rubble. And that
Hmm.
is just a lot different than like, oh, I don't want to watch Game of Thrones anymore. It's just too fighty.
Exactly.
So I found that post, and you were talking about what the Russians do and stuff like that to the kids. I was just sitting there. I mean, it just came across. Like I said, I get weird stuff sometimes, just kind of floats across my timeline. But I guess somebody posted that there was a Ukrainian journalist, Victoria Roshana. She
Yeah,
died in Russian
Hmm.
captivity, and her
her
body was,
organs, her brains, and her
you know,
eyes.
Yeah,
it's
she was
just,
Yeah.
tortured.
it's just like,
It's very common. It's honestly, it is. The Russian military is very systemic with its rape and torture policies. They are
Yeah.
policies, they are group events, they are individual events. I have personally intercepted these admissions of war crimes by Russians. Um, like, oh, basically, did you go rape somebody? Yeah, but it was an old lady, but at least, I this. Or, are you going to bring the girl back? No, we all had our turn with her and then we ran her over with a car. Like, and these are things this is stuff I've translated. This is stuff I've heard while, doing my job. And so you don't get to just be like, yeah, it's just too fighty. I'm not gonna watch this last season.
well, it's just like I was watching some of that stuff, and I was watching some of those videos on the women in the Ukraine, how some of them have come up in ranks, and a lot of them are, you know, there's a lot of women snipers in these units and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And they were basically, when they signed on and everything else, it's like they told, their battalions or whatever told them, it's like, if you get captured, you might want to just automatically have the mindset of just offing yourself before
Yeah.
anything happens, because of what they will do to a female sniper on top of
To be
everything
honest
else.
with you, they torture everybody equally. So their men are going to be tortured as horrifically as women. I'm not going to say one is less or more tortured than the other because that's simply not true.
Okay.
You you make a choice as a Ukrainian soldier what you're going to do in that moment, and every single one of us has thought about it. Um, what they've done to the men here that have been captured, such as castration, rape, brutality, torture, like it's horrific. And sometimes you have to understand these war crimes don't just happen to soldiers; they happen to the civilian population in occupied territories or territories that are at risk of coming under occupation. So they're fighting. So
Yeah.
it's not like, yeah, that happen to somebody? Absolutely, it does. But you have to understand it can happen to the woman running the corner store, the man running the gas station, or the soldier on the front line. Nobody is exempt from this level of crime, and it does not matter your gender, your age, or your race. I can assure you,
Okay.
after 8 months of this, no one has it easy in Russian captivity.
Well, I kind of figured that it was not, just brought down to a
Men can't
single.
get pregnant. I mean, that's a factor. But honestly, usually after everything that Russia does to women, they can't either. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've come across threads too, by the way, and I'm interested in this aspect where they also do that to their own soldiers if they like take
Yes,
off. They're injured and they want to
yes,
keep fighting until they die. If they want to take off or not fight anymore, they'll actually torture, rape them, and kill them for them.
yep, yep. They will do that because they don't have a Ukrainian to do it to as well. We've intercepted some pretty horrific things.
So
I will say this
I can't
though.
even. I
I was
can't
running the
even.
CNC one time. It's called the CASPA here, but it's control and command. And I was watching it was I want to say it was Donetsk. And I watched a Russian medic and there was this guy and his legs had been blown off. And we're just we're just trying to, do our job. And um, this guy had been laying there for like a good couple minutes, and a medic ended up like running out and actually dragging him back. And it was a Russian medic, and I had never like they never I'd never seen that before. Like they'll shoot you, they'll throw a grenade and help you out. But like it was probably the only time I'd ever seen like an active, actual like soldier camaraderie among them in that way. They'll steal each other's food, they'll steal each other's ammo. Um, they'll steal each other's vehicles. Like they don't have it's not oh all for one mentality.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it does make their army weaker. In case they're listening, it makes your army weaker.
No.
There's a reason you guys don't trust each other. You can't.
Well, see, and that's what the thing is too. We heard this in the beginning. It's like a lot of the Russian soldiers when they first, when they were going down to the front line or going down to Ukraine, there's rumors or there was reports coming back and they're saying that they were being told they were going down for just training exercises. And then when they find
You
out
know
they
what?
were,
I don't want to sound biased, but like when you're on the front line, you know it.
that's kind of what
Okay?
I
Like
thought too.
you know
But I mean,
it.
the thing that got me is like they were talking about like all of these, like there was like battalions of them that were like, when they found out there was actually war, that they were just surrendering into the Ukraine, to the
Some of them
Ukraines.
did, especially towards the beginning. There was a lot. Again, I would go back to referencing the Ukrainian fighting spirit. I don't think that Russia was anticipating that, and so there's videos out there of the Russians being like, it's special forces, and then like the video pulls back, and you get to actually talk to the guys who were running that operation. And it was like a doctor, a lawyer, and a pharmacist, like
Yeah.
just getting their gun on. So it's amazing to in array. So on our battalion, we recruit a lot of criminals. There's a very narrow list of things that you can have done. Doesn't include domestic violence, assault, or anything like that. But like you could have killed people and stuff, and we'll take you. That's fine. And
Well,
so I've had the experience of like working with these guys, in a war, and man, it is Ukraine are fighters.
no, that's what I'm saying. After watching some of the news clips and documentaries and stuff like that, I've and talking to, talking to Gia and stuff like that, and now talking with you, I've got a whole new sense of. I mean, I'm not for the war. I mean, I hate war. I think war is stupid, but yes, there's sometimes it needs to be fought.
Yeah, you can be for it. You can be like being for freedom, for democracy, for women's rights. Like that's awesome. You don't have to be like, well, we want you to go take 120 kilometers of Russia. Like,
I
stop
guess,
the
yeah.
94.
I mean, I guess what I should say, I'm not for the political side of it. I'm for the humanitarian side of it. It's like I don't care about the political differences that Zelensky and Trump and everybody else has. I focus more on it's just like, okay, so Ukraine, I've seen that. I've seen it in the news, the actual recorded news clippings and documentaries that people have done on the ground. They are, like you said, they're fighters. They don't give up. They believe in what they do. I mean, when Ukraine fell, was annexed from Russia and became Ukraine, watching some of those old clips back before everything was monetized and stuff like that and started getting propagandized and stuff. You see a lot of those old clips back then that people were ecstatic, they were happy to finally be out of Russian control. And
No, they love it. They have art, they have culture, they have freedom. They're not living under domestic violence. They don't have huge human trafficking rates. There's a level of safety in Ukraine that I have only experienced in certain rural areas of America, and it is that feel, but it's nationwide.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that. It's just like, when they post, it's like I would rather be in Ukraine, like you said. I would walk down the streets of Kiev before I walk down the streets of Detroit, even with everything going on, so that says a lot. And I know
It's
those kind of posts and
yeah,
those kind of comments don't get amplified because of the fact that's not what it doesn't fit the agenda.
it's not sensational.
Yeah. So, um, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about that. um, so I mean, what are some of the good stories, that you found down there since you've been there? What are some of the heartwarming stories that go away from war and actually make you feel good about being down there? Is there one that kind of stands out?
Um, I can tell you there is an awesome everyday experience that I get being a woman serving in array. And I don't know, I can't speak to other women in other battalions, but I can tell you that my battalion, they make me feel wanted. If I say like, "Well, I'm not a Ukrainian yet," and they're like, "No, you're a Ukrainian." You know, um, and it's those moments of like just being able to like the gas station video, right? Like we're there and we're getting gas. Postman just got back from leave, and like we're watching air defense just righteously, you know, try its best. And so um, I think part of living in a war zone is that like, even the happiest moments are twinged with sadness. So like one day, one of the schools, all their kids made us pictures and stuff, like take to the front line, and like that should be a really happy story, but like at the same time, it was like kids making pictures for us because we were going to the line, like. War robs you of certain kinds of happiness, but it gives you other kinds of happiness. So there's people that, night after night I've been bond with, and it's like, dude, I'm happy they were there. I'm happy they're still here. A lot of us can't say that.
Yeah.
So it's you you find it in the most unexpected places. It's like the guy that will hand you chocolate or a candy or something. It's the extra ammo. It's nobody being lost on a mission. Like those are the oh, okay. There was one time in Sumikirsk that a Russian medevac, um, like a Cossack type vehicle, went through a swamp and like they sank. Like they drove into their own swamp and then they sank, and then they were all dispersed by farm animals. Like,
What?
and like it was a good day for us. We didn't have to do shit. Like we just watched it on the drone feed, and we're like, "Are you gonna drive?" While you're driving, and you sink. Oh, and there's pigs, and like for us, like that was a good like. We got to pull our guys back. Nobody had to do anything in that area that day. Um, so it's like it's weird how you measure the happiness. Like it can be like a chocolate bar, a cold thing of water. It can be a shower. I have gone weeks without showers on the front. Um, it's interesting. Like it can be hot water. It can be cold water.
Just as long as it's water.
Yeah, I would say like if you try, like Ukraine is beautiful. I can find happiness almost every day just looking at the land of Ukraine. The countryside is so stunning. I cannot tell you how many people, to include myself, have like been being bombed or having stuff come down, and you're just like, man, this is fucking gorgeous. Like, whoo, look at that Texas sun. It's just like your breath is just taken away. It's like really beautiful, but you don't want to die. I look forward to like getting out of uh, like being able to truly relax, like not having to worry about the air rates, not having to worry about incoming. But like there's people that have good days. I mean, I was taking Ukrainian lessons at like one of the high schools and stuff. And like you see people, kids play here every single day. Kids ride their bikes here. Kids laugh every single day. And you can take the time out of your day and like zone in on that kid laughing in that moment as you walk by. And like you can decide to feel happiness or you can think about everybody that you've lost. Like it's a fight. And I think that's probably just true for like war.
So so take us through just like a normal day, a normal 24 hours of your life being there. I mean,
It depends on where I'm at. So if I'm doing instructing at the Assault Academy, my day's really mellow. If I'm on the front line, it could vary a lot. Um, like with the Assault Academy, I'll wake up. I'll usually be to work sometime between like 8:30 and 9:30, depending on what I'm doing. We'll do some basic training, weapons drills, medic stuff, different things like that. Teaching them to like tourniquet themselves and crawl in a zigzag. Um, and a lot of them are fresh, like they're fresh out of jail or they have been conscripted, and so they don't like a lot of them have never held guns and stuff like that. So we got to get them up to like array standard. And that's cool. Like it's just a basic mellow day. We'll just drive around, do war practice stuff. On the front line, depending on what unit you're with, like electronic warfare is busy most days. They're setting up equipment, they're taking down equipment, they're listening to stuff. They are always busy. Unmanned systems does a lot of training and then a lot of like zero and beyond um, deployments. So we'll be like out there with unmanned systems, which is it's like there's shotless, which are weapons. Um, it's little four-wheel devices that can get mines and things and drop them. It's unmanned systems basically, but not drones. And so we'll go out and practice, but like caps will still be raining down. Like drones will still be overhead. We'll still have to hide. It just depends on where you are. Like if I'm teaching at the academy or doing something like that, I'll probably do, 2 meals a day, get plenty of water, get plenty of rest. If I'm on the front, I'll probably do like one a day, probably average 4 hours sleep. And it's just you're living under more of a you, you can always die here, but you can die faster sometimes.
definitely. So, I mean, what do you guys do for fun when you don't have air raid sirens going off and stuff like that?
We do what all soldiers do. We drink, we have sex. we, we go out to restaurants and eat food. We're into dance videos, things like that. Like we're pretty normal, to be honest with you. Like it's, abortion on Sunday and hunting Russians on Monday. It's interesting because especially when you're in cities or villages, like the civilians are living through what you're living through too. So like, when drones are flying overhead, they're flying over their heads as well. And so there's this surrealness to a war that like in America we would deploy over there. That would be their civilians. But here in Ukraine, like, it's a defensive war. And so it's just different.
Hold on.
I mean, there's happiness, but like you're fighting for it. Like
Yeah.
there's some people that just get so depressed they go home and they can't take it. There's other people that I know a kid who was 19 and came around the same time I did. He ended up on a mission and he dropped his machine gun and walked fucking back to the headquarters and refused to move further. Like,
Wow.
and you're getting people from around the world. So that's really interesting. You
I was
get a
gonna
lot of different styles.
I was gonna say you're talking about like the different cultures and the different people and stuff like that. I mean, so how many people do you have in your unit that you serve with right now?
Well, right now I'm an instructor at the academy, so we have like 8 or 9 instructors.
Oh, okay.
Unit sizes can vary from 2 people to as many people as you want, depending on what the unit does. It fluctuates with the needs on the front. So, like if light artillery needs more, then that's where those people are going to go. If electronic warfare needs more, that's where those people are going to go. That's the coolest part about Ukraine is just how many different jobs you can do. Like when you join the U.S. Army, you have your job. That's your job. When you join the Ukrainian army, you can get a lot of different jobs. Like you can move to drones, you can move to unmanned systems, you can find your niche of how you want to fight this war. You're back.
Yeah. Sometimes these links end up failing a little bit. So depending on I know, like I said, up here where I'm at, I know we're a state away from each other. So she's just south of me. So I'm sure she's probably getting some of our backlash of our storms that are in the area. But no, I mean, yeah,
If there was something that we could start saying more as soldiers over here, what would you guys want to hear? Like, what do you want to know from us?
um
For some reason, my camera fell and then had to jump back on.
oh
So my audio doesn't work. So I don't know what's going on, you guys, but hopefully you kept it going.
it's fine, I can boost you a little bit.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me get her audio set.
Probably Wi-Fi
There we
where
go.
I am. I'm not too sure. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
control certain things of the cameras and stuff like that, but
Oh, thank you.
well, so, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of interesting. That's an interesting question.
Well, unlike the US military, we actually do take requests.
So, okay, one thing I'd like to know is it's like serving. So you said you served in the Navy and stuff like that with our military and our military laws and regulations and everything else. You're serving in a volunteer unit, basically. I mean, you're basically a subsidiary of the actual Ukrainian military. You're not part of the actual Ukrainian military.
No, where's the SU? Where's the SU?
Are you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. There was some bickering last year, but we got there.
Oh, okay.
I can only hear one of you. I don't know why, but it's okay.
Who can you hear? Me or her?
I would say
Yeah,
the
you.
biggest difference though between the two militaries is flexibility with what you're good at being what they put you to use for, and uniform restrictions are not as strict at all. Like I was able to like write on my boots and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that I was kind of curious. Because, like I said, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so the volunteer based stuff, is there still like volunteer units and stuff like that there, or are they all part?
There's international legions and there's different legions. I'm not really a part of that, so I don't know how their system works as much. I know that like Array went from TDF to ZSU, um, which is the Territorial Defense Force to the Ukrainian military. Um, they were a lot of 10 issues here. I think that honestly, above all, that is what freaks me out about them. It's like the 10 issues situation, you know? Like, you're doing this in Nikes, huh? Yep. Okay.
So the uniform restrictions, I mean, okay, so it's just like, the U.S. military, you have to be in you can't have any, your creases have to be this way, your creases have to be that way. I mean, you guys are, I mean,
I've never actually worn a Ukrainian military uniform outside of one time. The entire time I've been here, I've either worn a U.S. military uniform because it fits me better and it's just better to move around and do what I do in, or I'll wear like cargo pants and a t-shirt.
so
I pretty much get to dress the way I did in my civilian life in America, and it is nice.
well, that's one thing too, is it's like, I was seeing, it's just like, does the female, do they have their equipment, or are you still using, because that's one of the videos I saw, is it's like they were using like the old, basically the hand-me-downs from the men, because the women in the Ukrainian militaries is kind of really
They
something.
do have their own stuff now. It's about what you can do your job best in. Do that.
Makes sense. Because I'm
More than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going out to the zero, like if you're going on a combat mission as an assault unit, you're definitely wearing, your camis and all of this stuff. like camouflage is really important. But like when you're just doing other military stuff, like you're doing side operations or something like that, like I designed my own hoodie.
Really?
Yeah.
So I mean, so the dress codes there is not as strict as it is over here. So you guys basically are whatever makes you feel
No.
comfortable.
Whatever you can serve and do your job best in. Like there are people that just wear civilian clothes. And that's just like it's what they go to work in. There was one day a really important person showed up and like the important people with the battalion all had to actually be in their uniform. And the guy that I was staying with, it took him 30 minutes digging in his car to find it.
Jeez. Sorry, I haven't.
And we're like, dude, you can borrow one of ours. Like they're fresh. We haven't even like unwrapped them. He's like, no, it's in here.
So I mean,
I
talk.
think they care more about you showing up and you doing your job than necessarily how you're showing up or even how you're always doing the job. Like if you can come up with a better way, Ukraine is open to it. They're constantly testing, pushing, trying new stuff. Very innovative.
Mhm.
I guess one of the questions that I would probably have is just like, what do you all need as down there? What are you missing
Mhm.
that would make you feel a little bit more appreciative about what you're doing from Americans? Sorry.
Uh, man, we need mechanics. Like our shit is always breaking down. That'd be like this. More mechanics. We're constantly needing when you get there, like you're always gonna go through more gloves. Like you're gonna lose gear, your stuff is gonna get destroyed. Um, all of that kind of stuff matters. Like there's a lot of different fundraisers and stuff on Twitter that just go to like vehicle repair, purchasing Starlinks, purchasing computers, replace like drone jammer stuff,
Mhm.
equipment like that. And like that is all that stuff is actually needed. Like our combat bay is good when we get it, but we always blow it on gear. Oh, and some of the guys
Yeah.
blow it on girls.
Of course.
Dude, Ray is just I do not date my brothers. However, I watch my brothers date. They got good reps.
So I mean, okay, so I was just like, so how do you guys handle like the mental health kind of the PTSD and stuff that you guys get from this? I mean, do you guys have like a support group, or do you guys just kind of like bottle it in until there's a time that where it just explodes, or how do you guys deal with that? 'Cause, I mean,
It's different.
being that far away from
So
home and everything
some people
else.
definitely are just gonna bottle it up and never talk about it. Like that is just true. When I'm on the front line, I personally usually always have two therapist type people that I'm talking to. One is a trauma specialist, and one is a prior soldier who just kind of helps me to like go through some of those things. Um, some of us do talk about it. So there was a guy who I got transferred to the unmanned systems unit, and I had never met him before, but we had an hour and a half car ride in front of us, and he spoke English. And like we went through it, like we went through the worst moments of our lives in the war, and like what led us to the war, and we got a lot of mental health work done there. And so it it's not. I wouldn't say that it's like really common or widely talked about, but I would say that you can get what you need from different people if you're open to that. I mean, I've had people be like, "Hey, I know you go to therapy. Do you have one?" Somebody in Ukraine that I can talk to. Um, but also, it's everybody's going through that. Like the civilians are going through that. The kids are going through that. The shopkeepers are going through that. So it's not like you deploy, you have your unit, you all get traumatized, you come home, nobody at home understands what you've been through. That doesn't happen here. Even in the richest cities of Ukraine, like they're getting bombed.
Mhm.
So it just makes it more of a common conversation.
So
Yeah.
there's no real because y'all are going through the same thing. So there's really no need to
Yeah,
hide
I mean
like your
it's there.
feelings and stuff like that because everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
yeah, like we've all cried, we've all been angry, we've all lost people, we've all been scared we were gonna die. Um, it just makes it's not a secret fear.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that's what helps you guys continue is because you have that openness, that you have that ability to not really know what the
Ukrainians
others are
really like they
thinking?
really do love the countryside here. Like they will go to the carpet. They'll go to the Carpathians. Like they will go to Egypt. They'll go look at beautiful things to feel better and then come back. Um, I think that like that long term care, because you have to remember, like this is not the first time Russia tried to wipe them out. Like they've done
No.
this in World War II. They
Yeah.
owed this in the 90s. They have this in Maidan. So it's not new, but I would say that like at this point, it has never been as broadly talked about, like it is now. Like it's
Mhm.
And I mean, they're growing. They're learning to not feel shame. Like some of the things that they had to deal with was the civilians feeling bad. Like, and that guy lost his leg, and I'm just here fucking driving an Uber, and it's like, bro, you're driving an Uber during air raids in Kyiv, and they could blow the
Yeah.
drone and you die. Like, yeah, And so it's
Yeah.
like those kinds of conversations. And also, I think the hardest mental health challenges are probably right now the kids because we just don't have a lot of the healthcare systems anywhere. And so they're very much pioneering mental health and mental health care here. And then
Yeah.
with all pioneering things, you have gaps, you have things that you miss. You're on a frontier.
Mhm.
So
So while you're down there doing that, have you been able to like? Because like I said, the main reason why you went down to the first time was to kind of like one to see if the war was actually going on, but also to like the trafficking stuff like that. Are you able to like continue that kind of like investigation type thing down there when you're doing it,
no,
or
when
no?
I joined the military, I gave up all extracurricular interests. So that included all of my online activities because I don't know, I was associated with Anonymous. Like we were definitely learning from each other. And so I dropped all of that, and I really do just focus on my dedication to the military. I feel like it's what I'm here to do, and I don't have time for this other stuff. It's important, but I don't have time.
Well, that's something too. You talked about that you're working on your citizenship to become, when this is all done, you're going to stay there and become, a citizen of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something
That's
you can
exciting.
focus on once all that's done. That could be your focuses on in trying to get all that back.
Yeah,
Like
there's all
kids and
kinds of
stuff like.
paperwork. There's temporary residency, permanent residency, citizenship, which is also all kind of different when you're in the military. I'm excited about being Ukrainian. Like, I'm looking forward to it.
So, what's the
It's not that I
process?
don't love America. I do. I just I love Ukraine more. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I mean, the way
I'm
things are
involved
going
with
down here
Israel.
is
It's
like
just
I don't blame you. Yeah.
hard.
I mean, is the process of becoming, because I mean, in all actuality, I mean, our process of becoming a citizen here is easy. It's just long. It takes so
Way
much
too long.
time.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like the process between becoming a Ukrainian citizen compared to a U.S. citizen?
I mean, it's shorter, but it's more intense in the sense of like you're being bombed, you're living in a war. You're consciously you're signing a line to become a citizen of a nation under a genocide. Um, and it's not easy in the sense of like they have loops just like we have loops. They're just different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's in.
I have friends, like my friend's house, so I'm at right now. It's like she's married to a Ukrainian, and she's like slowly working on her residency and becoming a citizen. But she also is the granddaughter of a Ukrainian who moved to America. So as soon as certain paperwork and like the forms are designed, she's going to be able to become a citizen that way.
That's
I'm
cool.
using my service in the military to count towards, becoming a Ukrainian citizen. So there's lots of different ways, I guess, but you're gonna get bombed in all of them.
Yeah,
That's
that is
true.
true. So, but I mean, like I said, I mean, for the most part, from what I've seen and stuff like that, like I said, I'm kind of jealous for the fact of the matter. You get to see a different side of a countryside under. I mean, it definitely could be under better circumstances, but you still get to see
They're
more.
so funny. Ukrainians are like they have one of the best senses of humor. They are pun gods. Like it is a good pun will change their entire day.
I mean, you got to think about what they've been through for, like you said, since World War II and everything else, since they regained it. I mean, they have to have
Even
that.
before then.
They've got to have
I
that
mean, they
sense
had to
of,
deal with the Tartars and everything, but they're also
yeah.
really sacred. Like, so there's these Sicilian burial mounds spread throughout Ukraine. And you'll like be looking at this beautiful field, and there's just this like huge mound, and it's just some like ancient burial thing, and it's been there, and it's gonna be there.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
talking about the
out
culture
in the
and
middle of
stuff
a
like that.
farmer field.
I mean, what have you seen that that's attracted you to the culture of Ukraine? What is some of the things that just like make you excited about wanting to become?
They're just stunningly creative. Like their art, their music, they are just like they're so creative as a people, and they're so like Ukrainians don't walk on their lands. Their land is them, and they are their land. It's it's this respect. They keep it really clean, like
Mhm.
as an effort, and their communities are just smaller and more intimate. So you grow up and you really do know your neighbors. You know each other's grandparents. Um, they take the everyday moments and the everyday interactions are just taken with more delight and more seriousness here. Like because you can go in America, you can go through the same McDonald's drive-through every morning, and you can kind of like have an experience, right? Yeah, Jenny's working, and Jenny's always nice. Um, but here in Ukraine, it's like your barista has survived the drone attack that hit you guys all last night, and she's alive. Right, and
Mhm.
some that's not always true. Like, I've bought things from stores, like, when I was on the Sumi Curse front, and then gone back 2 weeks later, and, her arm was broken, her store was bombed, 3 people were dead. So it just they're living in this, encapsulation as a nation of right now. I love you right now. I'm hugging you right now.
Kind of what we should
And
all
that's
be
just
doing.
not something. Yeah, I think America lived with that in the West, or when it was, when we were in revolutionary or like Civil War times, you could really dig into that right now moment.
Mhm.
But if you're
I
not
understand
under
that.
this kind of pressure cooker, yeah, you're not gonna. It's rare to find that level of community, and you have to consciously build it.
True.
So I mean, Gia, I mean, you were down there too. So I mean, what was your infatuation with? What made you like Ukraine?
The fact that they're united, like she was mentioning, they're family oriented, they're conservative, religious. So a lot of the propaganda you see, I mean, obviously there's a younger generation. They want to do normal things that young people do. But what kind of struck me also is the fact that, COVID hit before the war. So people were already, and I think I don't know if the camera froze. Can you still hear me?
Hmm.
So some of the conversations that I had almost after or soon after arriving in Ukraine, and this was like fall 2022. I got to meet like different young people, different ages, high school, college age, etc. A lot of them, had questions about like what is life like here in politics. If Trump won, what would that mean for Ukraine, etc. Some of them shared with me that, they haven't gone to a music concert like all through COVID, and then the war hit, and they still don't have that normalcy or normal life back. And so last year, I know I think I remember, and I didn't attend this festival, but there was a festival in Kiev. Um, you know, Obviously the risk of air raids and all of that exists, but air defense was a little bit, still strong, not totally underfunded like it is now. So they felt like it's time to finally have a festival back. Give people, especially young people, that life, that normalcy back to their routine or whatnot during war, like after literally almost 3 years of war. So they had that, and then you see propaganda saying, "Oh, look, there's no war. They're going to clubs, they're going to festivals,
Yeah,
etc.,
there's
etc." But the reality is, they went without that for a long time. Yeah, bars stay open even during civil wars or wars, So do clubs, but there's a curfew. There's a work curfew
Oh yeah,
also.
it's
So
martial law still.
yeah, and it's gonna be, it's gonna be ongoing. Obviously, they extended it to like I think almost midnight now, from what I recall, and that gives you a little bit more time to go and do stuff. But it's not like in the U.S. You can't just stay out all night or until 2 a.m.
No,
So
you can
there's
still
certain
go
things
places.
like that. Yeah.
Like if you don't leave your friend's house on time, like you're staying the night there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Or you stay in your car, if you don't make it back into the city or something, until everything picks up, again, like after 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m., whatever time it is. Then you have to get in line with everybody else to go back into the city or back into whatever area you're going to. And there's military checks to kind of enforce this curfew.
Checkpoints, man. Oh, and the passwords, they're horrible. If you're in the right chat group, okay, on some of the military passwords, there'll be like some sexy girl pic, and then like there'll be the passwords. Sometimes they even move. Like I don't want to get in trouble for it, but I just want to say that like I know when Gur's in town.
That's funny.
That's interesting, though. Oh, that's
Yeah,
something that.
no, you could never do that in the U.S. military like that.
Oh hell no. Oh Lord. Yeah, that's an
And they'll make
interesting
fun of you.
concept.
They make fun of me as a foreigner sometimes when I'm trying to say the password. They'll be like, "What? Stop!" Sometimes I'll just say it in English.
Oh Lord. Well, I mean, it's good that they like I said, that this goes down to the camaraderie and stuff like that. That the internal camaraderie that you guys have, throughout the deals, just to make things fun. Because you got to make things fun. I mean, it's a shitty
You
situation
gotta
down there.
love who you're fighting with. You
Yeah.
gotta love your brothers. I love my brothers. Like I love who I fight with. We have a lot of hugs. We have a lot of handshakes. A lot of eye contact. And we're really glad to see each other. Like it's
Now,
genuine.
do you get it?
Yeah.
Does most of the like units, do they all get along together, or is there like some units that you like don't want to be around?
Ukrainians are humans.
But no, that's one thing I was always wondering. It's just like you got so many different cultures and stuff out there, and so many different, you know, like I said, it just amazed me
I
about
can
all the different people that come through there.
I can say under a certain amount of pressure, nobody gives a fuck how you feel that day. When there's a certain level of pressure on, you're just doing your job and you're working. Other times, like I don't understand enough Ukrainian to know, but probably. They have a custom here when you enter a room, no matter what it is. If your fellow soldiers are in there, like you'll stop and you'll shake their hand and you'll look them in the eye. And the first few months, me and my buddy did not understand what was going on about it. We're just like, yeah, but we'd like forget. And our commander was like, no, you need to do this. And then we realized because like you lose so many people, like you're glad that you took that moment. You're glad that you shook their hand. You're glad you looked them in the eye. Like there's that right now living.
Yeah.
And I think Ukraine culturally is honestly going to keep that because it just deepened the family value that was already there and it made everybody their family in a closer way.
Well, I do. I mean, I'm not there, but just by listening to you talk about it and everything else, your passion for it, this is like I do cherish the bond that you guys have, even though I don't. I wish we would have had that here. I mean, it's something that's lost. It's just like my generation because yeah, I'm from an old, I'm from the what they call the Gen X generation. But the fact of the matter is, I was raised under the silent generation and under the new generation. My dad was born in the 20s and my mom was born in the 30s. So I was raised under that type of
The Great
mentality,
Depression era. Yeah.
and yeah, there's some things that I might say that I'm 51, but I don't feel 51. I still feel like I'm in my 20s and stuff like that. Sometimes I act like I'm in my 20s, even though the next day I feel that I'm 51. Um, but I think that's what a lot of our problems here in America is, and like I said, we all lived it and stuff like that. I think that's what we miss. We don't have that type of family structure anymore. We don't have that type of understanding of what it means to love each other, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
There's foreigners that come here that don't have that. I've had foreigners that I've just been like, get the fuck out of my country. Like, I can't stand you. Um, like, you're going to run into different issues, but I think it's the choice. It's the choice to shake everybody's hand. It's the choice to, pay for your coffee during an air raid. It's like America has the opportunities, and I know for a fact America has the communities that have made those kinds of choices. It's just not as broad as it is here, but you're also not under the same level of threat. It's more of an internal threat,
Mm-hmm.
which Russia wants you to believe this war is an internal. It's not an internal issue.
Yeah. Yeah, like I
Exactly.
said, the more people I talk to and the more things that I get to hear, the real stories that go on down there is just like, I mean, I always know, and I will preach till I'll be the first one to start preaching is that's propaganda, that ain't true. Just because you can, if you have an open mind about things and you can understand what's going on and you can see what's propaganda and what's not propaganda, but
Well, and
there's
we're fighting
like
so many
so
different
much.
countries here. Like, I mean, we fight the North Koreans here. We fight
Yeah.
Iran in the sense of they should have drones or endless. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're fighting so many different aspects.
So now
True.
have you been in contact? I mean, has your unit or somebody it's been in contact like with the North Korean
Red has
trollers and stuff like
definitely
that?
dealt with the North Koreans. Yeah, I have
Really?
not personally dealt with the North Koreans. It's not what my job is, but we as a battalion have absolutely dealt with the North
Really?
Koreans.
Now,
Yeah, man,
now is that something the
it's
reason
rude.
why they keep sending so many North Koreans down there is the Russian army that starting to lose that bad to where they need those extra soldiers?
I think that the Russian army is in more places than just Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So shoring
True.
up their interests and maintaining a troop amount where they're at is what matters to them. And they took some really deep hits with the loss of Wagner. And so they're still filling up those
Mm-hmm.
positions. But it's important to remember that the Russian military is a global operation, not just Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Asia, Africa, even Latin America.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I noticed, that they're starting to like, bring in, Yemen starting to like move towards that side, the Houthis and everything else. And it's just like,
But yeah, there's Africans here that fight for Russia. There's Americans that fight for Russia. I look at it as like you made a choice, and if your choice is the other side, then today we're enemies.
was you that posted that? Because I think I seen a post where that one soldier that was a U.S. soldier and then was discharged or whatever from the U.S. military and then went to go fight for Russia. Did you?
Yeah, so me and Austin made a video. We made a video where
Yeah, yeah,
basically we're
yeah.
like, yeah, you show up to Curse because he's not just all of those things. He also is outrunning child pedophilia charges.
Hmm.
And then we heard about him, and we were chilling in Sumi Curse, just kind of being Americans, and we're just like, we'll fucking see you here, like we're coming for you, and we meant it. Like that is it is an option. Our battalion, there was no kickback for that. It was just like, well, I guess you'll be shooting that person. Like, yeah, you know it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that one deserves to be. Um, but
It's
no,
a
I
choice.
I
I
seen
mean, I
that.
put myself in harm's way right when I signed up to be the military. Like that is it is a choice. Like
Yeah.
to some, there are people that I am their enemy. I am their enemy combatant. And, if they can kill me, they would have a good day. So it's about
I know.
just understanding.
Hang on. So,
It's such a big family.
no, they just bark and everything. Oh, come My wife's home, so that's why they're starting to bark. Okay. No, they bark at everything. Anytime somebody walks by the front window or anything like that, they decide they need to bark at the whole world. God, I lost track. Oh, is there something? Okay, so I noticed like a lot of stuff. You said that you had a story to tell and stuff like that. Is there anything that we've left out tonight that you would like to share with us?
Oh yeah, so we're hanging out there in Denon's region, right? And we were setting up some equipment, and like the call comes in over the radio, like, "Hey, there's drones in your area. Like, you need to get into cover." And so me and Possum get under this tree, and like the other guys are around. Possum's like, "Hey, you come here often?" And he said it like that. And I'm like, I mean, like enough to get hit on. And I'm talking about the drones. And then Ukraine goes like, no, this is not the place. This is not the time. There's a lot, like there's the language barrier. I accidentally said to one of my teammates, "Hey, when you get back, I want to take off my clothes for you." That was like not, I wanted to switch rooms. Right. Oh, so they have this thing here. I call it Mormon beer. That is not what they call it. It's called crevasse. But it doesn't have alcohol, but it has like the beer smell. And you get given a lot of stuff here when you're a soldier. And so that's one of the things they gave us. And I didn't realize how, I don't know, potent it was. I don't know. I opened it to take a drink and it went everywhere. And we had this long day with Gert and I smelled like a frat party
Oh no!
all day. And the vehicle smelled like a frat party. And so like we're getting out and it's like Gert and like I reek of booze. The fumes were just like, and nobody could stop laughing. Like they thought it was the funniest thing. And I'm like, I didn't smell this bad in college, and I was a drinker. One time I had to climb the outside of this building, which is the equivalency of like 27 US stories. And it had to like this rickety ass Soviet era construction ladder where like as you go up, the stairs slant like this. And so like I'm carrying equipment and I'm climbing it and I get up there. That was like one of the bravest things. I told myself as I was climbing it, like, I am a hero of Ukraine. I'm an American woman. I am strong. Like, I get there, and the Canadian opens the door, and he's like, "There's an elevator." And that was the only English that bitch spoke the entire fucking time. And it's like, we have been talking to them for a week. They're the ones that told us to climb up the side of it. And so there was other people that we were there with that were like too afraid. And like I have this picture of them, and they're like on the second story. So like I go down, I'm like, "Hey, there's an elevator." And they're like, "Oh," they like climb down. And then everybody took selfies like they had climbed it, and so there was like all these images of us on like the rooftop and everything. And that was the same rooftop. I had to like outrun. There was like a super cam drone, and they're like, drone. So like I'm running across this rooftop. It was the most Mission Impossible moment of my life. I'm like climbing down this rickety thing, and there's all these wires. I'm like going inside this warehouse, and then we had to go and remove our stuff from the warehouse. And so my commander's parked outside dealing with stuff, like getting ready for an exposition. And he sends the three of us inside, and a cab drops like really close enough that the building is shaking, and it's like a metal building. So like me and Possum and this GER guy who speaks English, we're going down the stairs. And we're like coming up with a disaster plan. Like, okay, well, she's the best medic. So like we have to get to her first so that she can get to us. And we're like, and then, like the area's being bombed.
Oh shit!
And we get down there, and the commander's like, "There's dirt on the truck now." It's like, "Are you okay? We're fine. We're fine. We got all the stuff. Here you go. Like, let's." And it's like that. You're just, you're taking those moments as you get them.
And it's
You
something.
don't always like everybody that you get bombed with, but you're glad that everybody lived.
Yeah. And those are moments you're going to live. You're going to, just like now, you're going to remember them later on down the road when this is all over. It's just like, you remember that time, you have a memory etched in you. A good memory.
Unfortunately, The good ones and the bad ones. Like, there's a whole learning to piss outside in all weathers here. That's like a very real experience. You know, I felt like bare ass in the fucking snow one time trying to go pee. Not a glory moment in my life. It was just, yeah. So there's that. The men cook here, so like a lot of the times we have like fresh food on the front and stuff. We also
Yeah,
have
they
women
do.
that cook here, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they cook here a lot. The neighbors are always great. They're always bringing us stuff wherever we are. Array's a pretty cheerful battalion. When we show up to your town, like you're devastated that we're there. You know it's about to get horrible, but we're like really excited. I learned that in our first town. That we showed up and like the women in the stores were crying when they saw us in uniform, and not like the happy soldier cries, but like the, oh my god, you're gonna all die. And I
Oh,
was just like, holy shit.
wow.
Like, these people honestly think we're gonna die. Like it was sad to go anywhere. Um, and then like when we deploy, we all, we all get nice fades and we show up looking professional. And so like they eventually warm up to us because we're friendly and like, oh, you like this monster, so I ordered more of this. And we work really hard to just be like, hey, if we're happy fighting, you can be happy that we're here fighting. And we push that
Mm-hmm.
as like a battalion narrative. I've noticed that wherever we go, we build really intensely tight community ties. And some of those people are brave, like Sumi Kurz. There was a store and they got put on the Russian hit list, and like it was clear that it was them, and we're like, it's okay if you want to close down. And she's like, if you're brave enough to walk into my store, I am brave enough to serve you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is like when you see them sad and scared and stuff like that, they're not scared because of you being there. They're scared of what may happen to you.
Yeah.
So they're grateful you're there, but they don't want to see you
Yeah, they're not going to
hurt.
be happy about it until they realize that we're happy about it.
Okay.
And then you go through the highs and the lows together, when everybody makes it back, they're happy. But like, there's been times I've walked into the store and like I've seen them crying, and like I knew we lost somebody. I might have not known who, but like I could tell by their reaction.
So
That's
so
the price of war.
what's some of the food that you eat there? What's some of the favorite foods that you like? Because I'm curious. I mean, I don't know any Ukrainian food, so
I like their American food.
do they make it
Okay,
better?
so
Do
in
they make it better than Americans?
yeah,
Do you
because
have
it's healthier, less. There's not the chemicals and the processes.
Exactly. It's
it's
not modified.
real.
Thanks for
Yeah.
mentioning that before.
I wouldn't eat like cereal. Like I wouldn't go for Captain Crunch here, but they do like a lot of it's kind of like a Greek god style food. Like they eat a lot of meats and cheeses and breads.
Mhm.
They're really into borscht. They're into a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits.
Mhm.
They use oatmeal with meat, which is like I'm still not quite used to that.
Hmm.
They do a ton of soups, a lot of sauerkrauts, different pickled things. They're definitely into that. They eat bacon raw. Not all
What?
the time, but like they'll eat it raw. Yeah. I was like, if you ever go to
With your
America, you can't
vodka.
do that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't eat
They can
any meat
drink
raw
it.
here.
Man, I would never try to outdrink a Ukrainian, like ever. I wouldn't even play that game. They can drink it, seriously. And they're just one of my favorite. I had to go to all of them are. I'm telling the story because actually everybody I mentioned in the story is either gone or out of the military now. So none of us can get in trouble except maybe me. But we got sent to this school to get this training, and we had a couple days there, and so like we were drinking one of the days, and I was in the Navy. Okay, let me preface this. I was in the Navy, and I had never seen people drink like that before. And the next day they woke up, and they were like, they were so hungover, and they were like, "Sisu," and it was like this silent, like I was like, "What? Like, did you just say like?" And then it started another one's like, "Sisu," and like became this like mantra in this chat as they're like hung over as hell, like getting dressed, doing the thing, reminding themselves like they're in the military until like they were like walking out the door, like and cocks on top, like "Sisu." 20 minutes ago, you were tie your boots. But like that's the thing. Like they're just so no, they're amazing, amazing people. They're it's an incredible military to work with, and to see the diversity of the Ukrainian military. It's forefront in fifth gen warfare. It's been awesome to just kind of go around to the different units and see it up close.
Yeah.
It's been really awesome. And
Like I
it's not
said.
an opportunity as a woman you get a lot of the time. You're not like allowed like, hey, yeah, here's a war.
Mm.
But it is one opportunity that Ukraine will give you if you're qualified. And like I was allowed to come up to Kyiv, even though my battalion's like deploying tonight because like they know I'm not going to go AWOL. They know I'm going to race to the front. Like there is that trust and that camaraderie, and that's just we have people that do go AWOL, and we have like internationals that go and just like yeah I quit, and so you earn it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a plan. I mean, you have the passion, the focus, and everything else. So, I mean,
Well, I love my battalion. I think that's a huge part. I love the people you serve with. Like, I don't even have a speeding ticket in America. I don't have traffic accidents. I have what is known as a pristine government record. But like, I really do work at a battalion with criminals. And like, there's even some cops that are in our battalion, like former retired cops, like families. They come from families of cops.
wow.
And it's just seeing all of that. And that the different intelligence levels that come, and from the different sides, them all being applied. It's like there's moments we're gonna win the war. Like you can feel it in your soul, we're gonna win the war. But like then the moments will get really far away.
What do you see? Do you see that it's going to come to an end soon?
I think that the same freedom that kicked the British Empire into being a kingdom is the same freedom that's going to, destroy the Russian Empire because they got greedy and tried to take Ukraine. It's that same fight. It's that Washington, that Jackson, that they have the Continental Army, and they have the revolutionaries. They have that multi-layered thinking going on that's just really successful throughout history against these larger opponents and these more well-trained opponents. And it works. That's the thing. They
Yeah.
are not afraid to Paul Revere.
I mean, they've been going strong for the last 3 years. So, I mean, a lot of us are surprised. I mean, for the fact of the matter, because we just thought that they were just Ukraine was a small country, but they don't realize it's not really a lot of times the size, like you said, it's
Texas.
yeah. A lot of times it's not the
Yeah.
size, it's the
They're
passion and
fighting
the
the dog
love
here.
and the
They're
love,
fighting the dog.
yeah, and the love for country and everything else that is more scarier than the amount of people that you can put on there.
And they remember life before the war. They'll talk about it, how Easter used to have as many lights strung up around the city as Christmas time. And like they truly loved being Ukrainian. Um, they're not, they have a deep respect for women here in their culture that's just not traditionally Soviet in any way.
Yeah.
They have a love for education, for learning, for growing, for developing new things. Like Dune is the lenses that Dune is filmed with were made in Ukraine. Like they're constantly pushing, like, yeah, we're in a war, but we're still making movie lenses for Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
the Ukraine isn't giving up, and I think that's the thing. The world we don't care. We'd prefer that America not give up with us, but like if America wants to give up, we're still fighting this. It's just not a shared victory as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like I said, I think our politics got too much involved in it. The wrong side of the
That's
politics.
America.
Yeah. So
It's okay. I mean, that's the world right now. Like that's humans.
it's sad, very sad.
There's corruption everywhere. We're all making choices. Some of us just kneel to it. Some of us have cowardice towards it. Some of us pick up a rifle.
So what would
That's true.
you, I mean, did you have something? I mean, you can jump in here at any time. I mean, I'm not trying
Yeah.
to. um, what would you want to say to the American people that you feel, or that you don't feel that they know what's going on? I mean, what do you, I guess what I'm trying to say is like with all the propaganda and everything, I mean, we kind of like narrowed down a bunch of things throughout the whole conversation. But what do you feel that we missed tonight that they really need to know?
You can spend the rest of your life and never to read another word about Ukraine, and we're still gonna fucking be here.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the passion, the drive, the love for country. I mean, that's what's missing, period, out of, I think, the world in general, not just us. But that's why I think Ukraine has really, people don't want to believe it, but I think that's the reason why it's stayed in the limelight so long, is because of people are finally starting to realize the love for country.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just country, it's the people, their culture, their land.
Yeah.
It's so personal with them. They're deeply feely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're open about it in a way that we're not.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's the way I was brought up. You know, I was brought up to love where I was at, you know, to have compassion towards each other. And it's really hard to have compassion to people nowadays. You know, it really is. I mean, my compassion switch flips way too often than it should.
Also, Ukraine has a lot of misconceptions about America. They have definitely bought into some of the advertisement. Like, one of the biggest things that I hear Ukrainians tell me is like, "Oh, your roads must be so nice in America." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, yeah, all the roads in America are just so nice. They're so perfect. I'm like, when?
Where?
When was this a thing? Like, we're constantly under construction, and most cities, our roads are shit.
I mean, here in my state,
Um,
they changed the state bird to the traffic cone, you know?
yeah, no, and then they're visibly disappointed. They're like, "But I thought America had like perfect roads." It's like, well, we don't. And some of them are just like really like being of color, like especially in the villages. Like sometimes I'm the first time they've ever met a woman of color. I'm the first American they've ever met, and so like you get that really lucky privilege of kind of like being the first impression creation, and I think that's really cool.
Well, with your personality and everything else, that would be a very good first impression for him. So
It's not always. It's not.
well, no, I'm sure that yeah, there's times.
Sometimes I like curse like a sailor, right? And forget that like that's not, you know, yeah.
That's why when we were starting this interview,
And
she goes,
I just do like unfeminine things. Like they can definitely tell I'm a foreigner just because like I'm not. Ukrainian women are so cultured and pretty, and not in like a tamed or groomed way. Like they're just really saucy. Um, so they just look really well put together. They always smell amazing. And I'm just like, how do you, what is going on? um, and so kind of like I'm always like that loud, like warrior female, like the kind of I get called like GI Jane. One of the colonels over here in Ukraine is like, "You're a GI Jane." I'm just like, I wish I was that fit. um, and they also just like they have a lot of respect for our bravery. They have a lot of respect for our military. I think that's what's so disheartening sometimes is I see the way Americans treat Ukraine, and I'm just like, man, these guys look up to you.
Yeah, they do.
That's
Like they
crazy.
want to be like you, but like then when they actually get a glimpse of what it looks like, they're like, okay, well, we don't want to be like that. You, we want to be like the '80s. You. It's like, yeah, well, we want that too.
Yeah, yeah, we all want to go back to the '80s. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That was
food
a
in
good
Ukraine
time.
tastes like the '80s. It tastes like my childhood.
Really?
Food tastes so good. Yeah, like vegetables and fruits and everything. It tastes so good.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
like it.
there's
Yeah.
foods. There's actually foods there that are similar to Mexican food, from desserts to like I think it's the borsch, the
Mhm.
broths, the soups, and stuff like that. And when I mentioned that to some Ukrainians there, they're like, "No way!" So then I would Google it, and I'm like, "Look, it looks almost the same, just slightly different variation of ingredients or ways to make it, but it's kind of similar." So I think we have more similarities than we think, despite the language differences. Even their, like the typical dresses of the Ukrainian,
Mhm.
dresses. A lot of them the patterns are similar to like Oaxaca, Mexico. So if you look at those little similarities, it kind of makes you feel like you're at home. When I interviewed a Mexican soldier, I think it was a year or 2 years ago, he actually mentioned to me, I feel like I'm at home. I feel like it's my second home away from Mexico
Oh
because you have a
wow.
mixture of old and new, just like you do in Mexico. If you look at Mexico City, you have the city and then you have the older side of it. So you have that in Ukraine as well. You have the ancient history and then you have the new.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're also
Hmm.
working at building that too, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Like
Yeah.
they are in the state of evolution. Like the Ukraine isn't done. It's not Ukraine in the sense of like, we hit a point after the Industrial Revolution where like we were America. They're still pumping newness into themselves.
Hmm.
See, isn't it crazy that a lot of these countries, they want to, like you said, up until here recently, they want to be like us. I mean, you look at Cuba. I mean, a lot of Cuba holds still, they still drive, they actually remanufacture like the 50s and 60s cars, because that era, I know that was, it's kind of like, because I know there's some places that people say they go down to that they're stuck in, it feels like they're going back in time because that certain area is stuck in time, so it's just like, it just amazes me, that we would try to destroy such a impression, by stupid political where politics, I mean, literally politics just destroys it.
Hmm.
You don't have time to filter your photos in Ukraine. You don't have time to care about other people's perceptions of you on that level. And when you're more focused on the now, you are living a realer life. I think people like rural Americans can really understand what that's like. You get up
Yeah.
every day and like
Hmm.
got your farm chores, and you're connected. Your
Hmm.
farm is your family, and your family is your farm. Um, that they have that mentality here. It's just on a broader scale.
True.
Well, and plus, you guys don't have, I mean, down there, they don't have a lot of the social media interaction. I mean, I know, see, that was one of the biggest rumors is like, oh, there's no media and stuff. Well, this is a lie because, you're broadcasting through a media source right
Ukraine
now.
TikToks. JD Vance watches Ukraine TikToks.
But it's just like when I heard that, and then it's just like, okay, so if there's this media blackout and everything else that everybody keeps talking about, why are we still getting all of this stuff? I mean,
There's not a blackout. That's not on our end. Like we
yeah,
have blackouts, but it's because we don't have power.
yeah. That's another side of that's another aspect
I
of the
mean,
blackout.
we do black out Russian propaganda now. I mean, but like legitly, that's important.
Yeah,
And that's honestly, and to be fair, that's across Europe at this point. That's not just Ukraine.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, he's going around trying to, snuff out all the borders because, yeah, I I don't
He should
know. It's,
focus on less carbs and more cardio. He has time.
yeah.
He takes weekends off. Russia doesn't take
Yeah.
weekends off.
Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of like, because of the fact of the matter, because of so much bullshit that goes on in social media, I really don't spend a lot of time on X anymore, just for that fact. So it's really
Well, thank you
disappointing.
for choosing me. I am grateful, and it was good to talk to the West one on one.
Yeah, and hopefully we can do this again. Like I said, bookmark that link. You can have it. That you that way. If anytime you, like I said,
I'll be honest, when I get back to the front, it takes me a couple months to chill out.
Oh, no, that's fine. I didn't mean like, yeah, I'd come on back on as soon as something happened. But no, I mean, like I said, if you ever feel like, you want to come on and do something, it's like, I'm always up to it. It's like, hey, just DM me and say, hey,
Mhm.
get into a conversation and stuff like
Exactly.
that. I'd love
As
to
we
have
say,
you back.
exactly.
I'd love to have you back because, like I said, I know there's a lot of stuff we couldn't cover, and I don't want to keep you up too much longer considering you do have a long
Yeah,
drive.
it's 5:30, so I'm gonna honestly probably like grab like 2 hours sleep and then just get on
Yeah.
the bus and then pack up and roll out. So
Well,
thank you though,
no,
truly.
I really appreciate
And I
you.
appreciate you broadcasting it in fullness and not editing. Like I really do value not being a soundbite.
Oh no, I don't believe in sound bites.
Me
Like
neither.
I said, the only thing I'll take out of this when it goes up onto the podcast, onto the Spotify and everything, is my dog's barking. I will edit that part out.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, but no, no, I don't edit anything unless you ask me to edit it. So it's one of the things that I talked to you about in the beginning is like, I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to talk about anything that's going to get you in trouble and put you in harm's way and stuff like that. So I'm not one of those type of people. I don't try to dig for the dirt that's going to get you in trouble. So
Thank you. There's not a lot of it. I tried really hard to be open, and to just be truthful about it. I know a lot of us, like we had talked about before, a lot of soldiers from America don't do these kind of interviews, and so I do think it's important every now and then that one of us, you know, steps up and is like, "Hey, we're alive over here. We're doing good. We're representing the United States. We're being treated well and fairly, and we're being given the opportunities to war that we wanted."
and I think it was the most important thing too to do this is to let people know it's just like, one, that shit is real, and
Yeah.
two, you all are real. It's not just something that
Yeah.
is propagandized by Ukraine or anything else, or
No, it's
so.
not. The towns are really gone. The villages are gone. The children are gone. Like these are real losses, and they're going to take generations to recover. It's one of the most it's one of the most mined places in the world now. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
but they're
So
also coming up with some of the coolest demining equipment in the world now, right? Because that's
yeah. Now I've heard a lot of the technology and stuff like that,
yeah,
and
I'm really proud of them.
so and
Ukraine's doing great. I mean, we're not in the sense of the war, but like they're not dead in 72 hours, which was the point.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna let you go so you can get a couple hours of sleep, and I want you to be safe, and
I will do my best.
Stay safe.
stay in touch on
Дякую.
you know.
Thank you. And as we say in Ukraine, до побачення. I will see you again.
Yes.
Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight, and please keep her in your prayers as she has already been deployed out. She left right after this recording, basically. Also, her links will be in the description. You can follow her on X at LongTStanding. All of her updates on her writing. She writes some good poetry as well. But also, she has a Buy Me a Coffee. I'll put that link in the description as well. Just give her some support and keep her in her thoughts. And until next time, we will see you later.